Hi, I'm Steve from How To in 5 and Reviews. If you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a return viewer, welcome back. And as the title says, I bought an ex-police bike. Why did I buy this ex-police bike? Look, I guess they are something I've always feared in one way or another, but also revered. And I was interested to know just what they are like as a used bike buy. I had the opportunity to pick this one up at a really good price, so I did. And it's a real surprise packet. We'll go for a ride shortly. I put it through the hills. I've had it on the track. I've even done a little bit on the dirt with it. It's a 1200cc flat. It's the Boxer twin. Produces a 1200cc, that's about 73 cubic inches, if you're into cubic inches. Produces 110 horsepower, and it's a really good bike. So let's have a look at the do's and don'ts, the insides and outs. I've got some pros, I've got some cons, and I can tell you that the pros far outweigh the cons. So let's get into it and have a look just what makes it tick. So a quick walk around the actual bike itself. This is an 07 model. I think they held this shape and engine configuration and all that sort of thing through until about 13. It's done 122,000 Ks. I reckon that's about 75,000 miles. And from BMW owners and different articles that I've read, they're good for a good 200,000 mile, maybe even a little bit more. It is in immaculate condition. It is just an absolutely beautifully prepared bike, or well, looked after motorbike. It's a good looking thing. So let's start by having a look at the motor. It's a 1200cc and it's a flat twin. Those pistons are 101mm diameter, or they're a 4-inch piston, so they're a big piston, and you can definitely feel the thump of the big piston in there. Quite a high compression ratio. I think it's about 12:1, so you need to run it on the premium unleaded. But look, a really good, strong motor. I've only had one BMW before, and that was my old GS. That was an 1150. This has definitely got a lot more power than that. We'll do a quick 0 to 100. I'll pop that screen down a bit so we haven't got as much wind resistance. See how we go. Keep that front wheel down. 3, 2, 1. It sounds like an old Massey Ferguson when you first start it up, but as soon as the oil gets up there, everything goes quiet. They're a load-bearing engine too, so if you look along the front there, there's no frame. One of the things I love doing is riding in heavy sand, and I put it up the hill here, up on the pegs, weight back, power on. It does it pretty well. Actually, while we're down the front here, we'll have a look at the front tyre and wheels. They're 17-inch wheels. They run a 120/17 on the front. I've got a set of Metzeller's on there at the moment. Disc brake wise, it's got dual 320mm. That's just under, what is that, just under? About 13 inches. And the brakes on it are massive. 4-piston calipers on the front. It stops so well and in a straight line too. And then hit the brakes. 3, 2, 1, now! Oh, look at that. Straight as an arrow. That is really impressive. 2-piston caliper on the rear brakes. And they're good. Yeah, they seem to work all right. I think the front does the majority of work. It's a linked braking system, so when you apply the brakes, it puts a little bit to the rear. Rear tyre is massive. It's a 180/17, and it's only a 60 series, so it's a really good tyre. I've actually just thrown some new shoes on this, the Metzeller's. I had Pirellis on it, but they were pretty well slicks. The front suspension, I'm not sure if you can see it up in there. It's what BMW call their telelever front end. And look, I am super impressed with the way this front end works. On rough roads, when you're banking it, if you're in a banked turn and you need to hit the brakes in a hurry, you can actually hit the brakes hard while you're in your banked turn, change your line, and then accelerate. I'm going to bring it up to 60 mile an hour. That's about what we're doing now, 100 kilometers an hour. I'm going to hit the brakes mid-apex and then change direction of the bike as if we're swerving around a car or an obstacle on the road, then resume direction and stay in my lane the whole time. Give you an example of this front end. So here we get halfway around the bend, a few bumps, hit the brakes, change direction, flick it back. Now that to me truly is amazing. The front end doesn't dive like a normal telescopic fork. Actually, I'll show you a picture of just how the front suspension works. Looking at the diagram here, you have a wishbone or an A-arm like you would have on the front of a motor car. You then have the center strut with the spring, the shocker in the center, and then you have the telescopic fork still at the top. It all works together really well. On this sort of terrain, you have to be careful, get up on the pegs, and you have to be the boss of the bike. Don't let it steer you. You have to steer it, and it manages it pretty well. It's a 6-speed manual. Actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, it is fuel injected, and you can just see the throttle bodies up in there. Fuel economy wise, and I'll talk about that shortly, is really, really good. It's got a center stand down underneath. I didn't bother to put the stand down here. As you can see, the terrain that I'm parked on. Stainless steel exhaust system, runs all the way through. It's not overly loud, but it's not overly... There's a decent bore on the back there to get that air and fuel out. It has these great little storage boxes on the side, and they are so nicely made. They're really good. You've got the protection bars if you lay it down, and they are key lockable on here, so just pull that, lift like so, and of course, because the bike, well, they sort of lay forward the boxes, the lids stay up. They're all waterproof. They've got nice rubber seals all the way around, and you can plug, they're fairly deep actually, you can get quite a bit of gear in there. I've got the coffee and the phone and whatnot in that one. Come around to this one here and click it up. There we go, exactly the same, and I just get spare gloves, wet weathers, first aid kit, bottle of water and that sort of thing. I mean, I guess you could put your 45 in there or your 9mm or whatever it is. If I grab the keys out of the ignition, this top box is a little bit interesting. Whack the key in there. I've just got to push down to release the pressure on the spring. And the little top box lifts up like so. I've just got some filming gear in there. I did put a bit of felt on. This is a stainless steel plate that they have on. I would imagine it's where the radio gear and that sort of thing went in the back. And there's where the key is for it, down here, that you pop in and out to open the rear box. Little power outlets, they seem to be all over the bike. Power outlet there, another power outlet here. There's one on that side somewhere. I mean, that's where the police would have run all of the accessories and things. If you're going to run this as a civilian bike, which of course you would be if you bought it as a second-hand police bike, it's only a single seater. As you can see, only one seat. That's not a seat, they're just a couple of small little buffers that are at the back there. You would have to remove this and I guess put a givvy or something on at the back there, but you would have to pick up a second seat. And I see these crash bars on the side mount into where the rear foot pegs would go. So it would be simple enough to pick up a set of rear foot pegs, but you'd have to try and find a rear seat from a bike wreckers, or I don't know, maybe you could make something up. Of course, that's only if you wanted to run it as a 2-seater bike. On this sort of terrain, of course, it's soft and you've got rock. The secret to riding a big heavy bike on here is to maintain your momentum. There are your standard lights there, and there your normal low beam, I suppose we'll call it, parking lights up here, and one big badass high beam light in the middle, really, really bright. It's an oil-cooled motor. Oil-cooled heads, so it's not liquid cooled, but you still have a little radiator. Well, it's actually an oil cooler. Look at that, it's full of bugs. That was from my ride yesterday. So yeah, oil cooled, so you're not worrying about coolants and that sort of thing running through. Good lights. Weight wise, and this was really interesting, I was trying to work out a weight on it, and I went through and I had a look on the computer. So I thought the best thing to do would be to take it down to the weighbridge. So I took it down to the local sand and metal company and I put it on the weighbridge, and you can see it comes up here at 0.28 of a tonne. That's 280 kilos. So you can see there at 280 kilograms. That's what it came in at on the weighbridge. That's just a bit shy of what is that, a bit shy of? 2.2 pounds to a kilo, about 620 pound, I guess. It's no lightweight. There's a fair bit of bike there, although it just doesn't feel anywhere near that heavy when you're riding it. And I think it's that low C of G. I mean, how tight is that? That's a single lane road. Please come in and do these turns super tight. And I thought, how do they actually do that on such a big bike? And of course, this is how. These are so simple. I mean, it's a 1200cc big touring bike that I'm just turning around here so simply. And you can slow it right down, just by feathering that clutch back around the gravel. So just basically crank it in, high side your body, so as your body's the other way, slip the clutch a little bit, and have a look at that. You can bring it to almost, my feet are not down here, my feet are still up. It's, I suppose, with all the extra batteries and this bar work around it, all the police bar work and yeah, the extra battery and solenoids and cables and that sort of thing, it's really nimble. It just doesn't feel that heavy. It's the boxes, so the weight is low in the bike. And that 280 kilos, by the way, is wet weight. I keep seeing figures of dry weights and that sort of thing, but I mean, dry weight is really a useless figure, isn't it? Because you've always got your bike full of fuel and oil. So wet weight is the weight. When I say nimble, it turns in and out really well, and we'll have a look at that. Oh, we might have already had a look at that. I don't know, wherever I've got it in the film. But believe it or not, the wheelbase, so that's between that front axle and the rear axle, is actually 3 inches, which is this much, about 75 mil shorter than my Tenere. And that would be no doubt why it turns and it has that nimble feel, and having the motor down low with the weight low. As I say, it certainly doesn't feel anywhere near 620 pound when you're riding it. On the road, I mean, I guess if you're in the UK, you'd call this a B road. And it truly is a pleasure of a motorcycle to ride. It turns in well, it apexes well, it comes out of corners well. I had it on the track the other day. It's no slouch. It has a top speed of 225 kilometers an hour, which, I mean, really 130 kilometers an hour is now the top speed in Australia. It does the standing quarter in a little over 12 seconds. And the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 mile an hour in 3 seconds. I really think these bikes are a bit of a hidden gem. I mean, I guess BMW owners all over the world already know how good these bikes are and how good the suspension is. The rear shocker, you can adjust the preload and dampening. There's a little knob down under the seat on this model. It has this nice little rack on here, so you could put a tank bag or strap a tank bag onto there. Fuel-wise, it holds 27 litres. And that 27 litres comfortably gives you 400 kilometres. What's that, about 250 odd mile, I suppose. I think you could stretch it out quite a bit further than that. I tend to fill it up, or have filled it up, at the 400 kilometre mark. It's mega fuel efficient. I'm a bit surprised at just how fuel efficient it is for such a heavy bike. That heavy bike bit, by the way, makes it incredibly stable. When you're at speed on the road, and I do a lot of country running, it's so stable that the wind from the trucks doesn't knock you around at all. The wind protection off of this fairing, your legs tend to tuck into this section here. If you can imagine, my knees are here, and the hand protection from here, the wind hand protection, and of course that screen, as we saw, and I'll just do that. If I pop that screen up, and you can have a look at that from the side, the amount of protection you get from that screen when it is up it's magnificent. I had it in the rain the other day. That's why I'm so excited about the windscreen, because my entire chest and helmet didn't get wet at all, and it was raining pretty steady too. So yeah, look, ergonomically, I think that's the word, it's set up pretty well. The only thing I will say is the pegs are reasonably high, and I find the triangle, my knees are up fairly high in here. I haven't had a problem at this stage, but of course with motocross knees, enduro and motocross knees, they do tend to get a bit sore sometimes. They haven't yet on this, but it'd be nice if maybe it had a set of pegs. I don't know, maybe some fold-out pegs if you're going to be doing enormous long-distance rides on them. Although I guess the boys in blue are riding them all day long. I should stop and have a chat with one and see what he thinks. Coming into bends, and if you're coming into fast bends, I like to trail a bit and sort of move that back end out. It doesn't do that so well. I guess, you know, that's not really street riding, that's more track riding. One thing I do find miraculous about this bike compared to riding my Tenere or the Spider is that people tend to give way to you for some unbeknown reason. They don't do that on other bikes a lot of the time. When they see a big white bike that they think may be a police bike coming, they suddenly give way. Funny about that, isn't it? But look, this bike, it truly is a pleasure to ride. Up in the cockpit as such, look pretty standard here. Analogs side by side. If I flick that on, up she comes, BMW. It has this little setup here, which is attached to this button here. I guess that's for when they're about to pull you up for speeding. If you push that button, it will record the last speed down in here, and it holds it on. Oh, you can see that last speed I was doing there was 101. I will say this, it's a nice panel. It's very basic, very simple, but I find it reflects a lot back, and it is hard to see. So I've come into a little town here now, and the speed limit through this town is 50 kilometres per hour, which I think is it's about 32 or 3 mile per hour, and it's pretty slow. It's actually very slow, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but I find that instrument panel just a little bit hard to read at these low speeds at certain times. I like the analog gauges. Tacho's good to work with in an analog, but yeah, it is very reflective, almost as if it needs a shield or a different angle or something on it. Mirrors are fantastic. They get no vibration at all. On soft sand, remembering it's only 17 road tyres, just keep that wheel as straight as you can. And they work as a wind deflector for your hands. Indicators down here, right indicator, left indicator, and cancel. Yeah, look, I'm not overly fond of this dual switch setup. I like the old switch on here, left and right, but I'm getting used to it, I will say. Heated grips, 1, 2 on the heated grips, have to be the best heated grips I have ever had. As I said, I've had a Beamer before, but the heated grips are just fantastic. Start button on top. For me with this bike is its ability to ride on the dirt and loose gravelly surfaces. If you get it, the front wheel feels like it's starting to shuffle a bit, just power on, as I did then. The back end will come around and she'll straighten herself straight back up. Got to be careful here, it's a bit tighter in case there's someone coming. So you come in, now I'm going to deliberately come in deep, come in too deep, just open that throttle, back end starts to slide, and straight away she'll straighten up on you. I'm not sure if this section is 100 or 110 through here, so we'll just sit around that 100 mark. I have been down here already today, so in fact not long ago, so I know it's reasonably clear of the old wild animals, mainly kangaroos you get in this part of the world. I'm out in the Mallee country, and check this one here, drop it down a crop, nothing there, and around she goes. It really does handle the unsealed roads well. And the electric screen is an absolute perler. That's in its low position now, and you can see just how high this screen goes up. It blocks so much weather. You can get down behind there. That is about my eye level, the top of the screen here. I'm looking into the sun, aren't I? So hopefully you can see that all right. That's about my eye level. But yeah, look, a really, really good windscreen. and push of a button, down she goes, sorts itself out into that spot. So that's good. Handlebar configuration is good. Hydraulic front brake, of course. Hydraulic clutch, smooth, really easy clutch. There's not a lot here. I guess being the police bike, it misses out on the electronic cruise control. That's a shame. If I had a complaint, or two complaints, it's going to be the reflection that you get off of here, and for some reason, take the key out, Steve, for some reason with the fuel cap, they've made it hinge back. And I know this sounds like a silly little complaint, but when you're coming in with a fuel pump in through the side here, it's always easier if a fuel cap hinges forward, because you've got all the room to work here with the pump getting in. You've got to sort of get in and around this and down. Minor complaint, but something that I thought it would be worth pointing out. Well, there you go. That's my impressions of a BMW R1200 RT, ex-police bike. What is it like as a used bike buy? Look, I think they're an absolute steal. You can pick these up at a really reasonable price. They've got that legendary BMW Boxer twin. They're good on fuel. Weather protection is fantastic. If you're looking for a touring bike and you're going to be going solo, one up, I mean, there is a conversion you'd have to do, of course, to make it, as we said before, into a two-seater. But as a touring bike for mild off-road work, and by that I mean dirt roads and that sort of thing, you're not going to do the type of work you would do on a GS or an Africa Twin or my Tenere or something like that. They're not built for that. But as far as a long distance tourer that's great on fuel and you know you're going to get back, I think they are an absolute steal. But if you like the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. But until next time, cheers.